Hello and welcome to the Daft Souls podcast, a podcast all about video games and carbohydrates this week.
Oh boy, it's the Carbcast.
My name is Quentin Smith. I'm sat opposite one Mr. Matthew Lees.
I'm sat opposite Quentin Smith. What a weird coincidence.
That is a weird coincidence,
We've
isn't
just
it?
eaten loads of chips and burgers.
Not just chips, but triple cooked chips. They brought them out. We said, cook them again.
Cook them again.
And they brought them out, and we said,
this is ridiculous.
Cook
Keep
them
doing
again.
it.
And they brought them out a third time, and we went, that's fine, actually.
It's a big veggie bean burger as well, so I'm carb to the max. So if you listen very carefully, you'll be able to hear the exact point during this podcast where we both collapse.
Yeah, not that carefully. It will just be a loud sort of thumping noise.
It'll be like, listen out for it. It'll be like a big thud followed by silence.
Today we're going to talk about some video games. We're going to talk about the new Hitman, which it turns out I've been having a great time with.
There's a new level for that. You've been playing on that.
Yeah, and it's been blowing my mind wide open. Wide open? We've been playing Fallen London because that's got a new iOS app and that's absolutely fantastic. You have been playing Nioh.
I had a little go on the alpha demo for Nioh. And it's Nioh. I think it's probably pronounced Nioh, but I like to imagine it being like Nioh, as if it's like a car driving really fast.
There's that to look forward to.
So yeah, I'll talk about that.
But we're going to start with Matt's continuing adventures in mobile app Clash Royale.
Clash Royale, yeah, it's all right.
You looked super concerned when I was throwing over to you there.
No, it's fine. I was just, I've been playing. I've been playing a load of Clash Royale, mainly because it doesn't take long. I talked about it a couple of podcasts ago, and lots of people have got on board with it and had a go.
Yeah, I introduced you to this, right? This is the tower defense MOBA type competitive card game.
Yeah.
It's good.
It's fun. It's like, it's obviously it hits limitations because they want money, which is how mobile phone games work. But at the same time,
how much money have you given them so far?
I've given them about a £5, I think, which is fine considering I've had a lot of fun and spent a lot of time on it. Mm-hmm. But it's...
What's your best card? What's your most powerful card?
Oh, I don't know what my best card is. That's complicated. The funny thing is about it, right, is you get better cards as you level up in the ranks, right? And you get to like the new arena. When you get to a higher level arena, you get access to new cards that might drop. So it's not you get the cards, you get access to cards that might appear in
Which
chests.
means all the old boring cards you've been using forever are way higher level than all the new stuff.
Yes, sometimes, but often it's about how these new cards can mix up your combinations. And the funny thing is, often when you get a new card, you're like, oh, cool, I want to use it. And then you put it in your deck somewhere, and then suddenly like your deck is rubbish and you just start losing all the time. And it can be quite hard to actually fine tune it. And sometimes you have to really step back and go, why do I keep losing? Like, why am I losing so much? And you have to work out like what is structurally wrong. Like, and it's just a simple thing of swapping one card for this one, but which one do you replace? And
these are important mechanical questions. I have a similarly important question to you. Do you use the little emotes during a match that say things like, well played, and
I do.
Good game?
Yeah, I always...
Me too.
The bad thing is, though, right, is... when I win and I just trash them,
there is no button for that, right?
Yeah.
You can't say good game because it seems like you're being passive-aggressive.
Precisely. It seems like I'm being a dick.
Which means then the match just ends in total silence.
Yeah, I do just try and say good game or well played after every game, but I just get the impression that like often,
you can't always do that.
Yeah, sometimes
if it's not a good game and they didn't play well, then it's like there needs to be a button that's like, well, thanks. Bye. You know.
For a while I got frustrated at how many, once you get to like, I've just got to Arena 5 actually. I've been stuck on Arena 4 for a while. Thank you. It was it's genuinely
been a journey.
It's really hard. Like the thing is like, it's kind of a weird system because of the fact that you go up, it's like you have a number of trophies and that affects your ranking and that affects what area you're in, right?
Yeah, I'm familiar with this because it's exactly the same system that Street Fighter 5 uses.
Yes. However, the big difference is when you get to these new areas, you can get new stuff and you get more stuff in your crates and stuff and it's better.
Yeah, with Street Fighter 5 you do get new stuff, actually. You get new feelings. Feelings of pride.
But listen, it's not a good thing. It's how the game works, but it's not a good thing in some regards because the problem is it means like I've been at the top end of rank 4 for a while and I wanted to get to the 5th area because I thought, well, I get some new stuff then. You get more money in your boxes, you get chances of new cool cards popping up. But breaking out from one tier to another is really difficult because even though it is just a sliding scale of like you're always going to be match made with people who are roughly of your level,
right?
There's this weird step that comes up in the different rankings because suddenly what happens is you get to the point where you're like just on the verge of getting into the new zone and suddenly you start getting match made with people who are in the new zone.
And do the new kinds of drops help them that much?
Sometimes, yes. But actually, it's not just that. It's because...
What's one of the new cards in the Magic Zone? You need to ground me in this.
A magician who does fireballs.
Shit! Yeah. That is so innovative.
But it's not that. What's interesting is it's not that they've got better cards. What's funny is you start to realise that in the different areas, there are different metas. Because it's like...
That's interesting.
Yeah, so that's what I found really fascinating is the fact that, in StarCraft, for example, you play something like that, or Street Fighter, when you're in, the very newbie area, or, you just started playing, really, you'll be able to get away with crap play, doing weird stuff, but then you start to, every now and then, as you go up, you'll recognise people just doing strange things until you realise after a while, oh, that's how the game is played. But it scales out very gently. Whereas what tends to be, for whatever reason...
In Clash Royale.
In Clash Royale, in, rank 3 and rank 4, there are a set number of tactics that you just get all the time, and it usually involves the Prince, who's, a little guy with a...
he charges off with the lance,
right?
And then he gets up to top speed and you have to drop something in his way, otherwise he collides with your towers.
But that's the thing, you don't drop something in his way. And that's the thing is I used to drop stuff in his way and that's why I was doing terribly. But you have to drop something off far to the right so it drags him over there away from everything else. And you can actually kite these people or into the other lane entirely.
Whoa.
By just using 2 very cheap units.
Into the other lane.
Into the other lane. And as soon as you realise that whole tactic of just here comes the guy on the lance with the horse, doesn't work.
The guy on a lance holding a horse would be a very weird character design.
That would be abstract. But this is funny is because basically when you're in 3 and 4, you get this stuff a lot. But it means you have a deck which is made for dealing with that. But then weirdly, as soon as I got to the point where I'm knocking on the door of the 5th area, I'm going into these fights with my deck, which is for the meta that I'm used to. And I'm just coming up against a completely different one. It seems like people who have been in 5 for a while, the meta in 5 generally, because all the people in 5, they might have actually been shunted back down again, but they've been in 5 probably for a while because it slows down. It's all loads of mobs. It's all loads of little buildings producing loads of tiny creatures. And it becomes this weird thing of you being well, how do I build my deck? Because if you're constantly on the line of being trying to get to a new area.
Right. You can encounter weird kinds of decks.
It's you're going to come against 2 types of decks, but which one is it? Which one do you build for?
Well, I mean, this has been a classic mainstay of card games. When I used to play competitive Netrunner and, still if I had the time, so much of the game, and I mean a ridiculous amount, is in the week before a tournament, trying to guess what decks you're going to come up against. And if you make that guess correctly, you can do exponentially more better. That's
why Clash Royale is really satisfying, is that it isn't actually, it gets to a point where you kind of think, oh, I wish I had better cards. And it's frustrating when you come up against people and they've got just better cards than you because they've spent more time, more money on it. But there's still a lot to learn. There's a lot of fine detail in there. And often when I lose, it's because I just do something very simple and stupid. And sometimes it's something as simple as misplacing units by a couple of millimeters. You think, oh, should have put them there.
I could have done with a bit more of that in Hearthstone. At the very beginner level that I played Hearthstone for, 10 hours or something, I occasionally would lose matches and just be yep, I did nothing wrong there. Or at least my mistakes weren't obvious. Whereas in Clash Royale, for all of its problems, Clash Royale is a game where I will do plays because of the pace of it and then go, well, that was just a mistake. And my opponent will as well.
But I'll tell you what the fundamental problem with Clash Royale is.
Oh, this is also, by the way, yet another of those games on Cool Ghost
you got me into.
I get you into and go, anyway, I'm going to go have a picnic in this field, Matt. Matt, do you want to come out? Why are you still playing Clash Royale?
The fundamental problem with it, and it's again a really interesting one in the fact that I think it's interesting that actually the way the meta seem to happen appears to be separated because of it just is. Also, it's unlike anything else. If you're playing something like StarCraft and you've got your MMR or whatever, your player rating in one of these games.
Yeah.
Same thing in Street Fighter. You're always trying to be better. I mean, obviously, you're a weird case for this, doing a podcast about trying to get into the top 10%.
It's all closed now.
Well, yeah. But, most people would just try and get to the level they're at and then accept that that's pretty much where they're at, right? Mm-hmm. And you just be you'd try and be better, but you get to a point where you're well, maybe this is just how good I am at this game, right? But the weird thing is in this, because you always have this carrot of
grinding very gently, or because there's always new cards to get?
There's new stuff you can get.
But you can't reach it, Matthew. You're not good enough.
No, you can, because you just need to keep going. But I think also, and I wonder if this is to do with the player base, of just being the more people you have playing it and the more people putting this time in, it really feels like I'm now up against people who are in my tier who just have stuff that's like loads more stuff than me. Like they have like all loads of really high level stuff that I don't have. And it's like, well, maybe they spent loads of money, or maybe they've just been playing for ages. And I start to wonder if maybe because of the way it's like the matchmaking is slanted, it's like, can we all get to the top at some point? Or am I just stuck in this weird middle traffic jam?
Well, hang on, because how many trophies do you get when you win versus when you lose?
Well, no, you always get slightly more when you win. Usually. Yeah,
which makes me think that theoretically, if people played forever, they would.
You will go
top.
up, yeah?
Yeah.
But it's weird because it's this weird thing of like, I always enjoy playing this game, right? I just, apart from, and this is the thing, I always enjoy playing it up until the point when I'm just on the verge of getting into a new tier. And that becomes so exciting because you're going to get new stuff and a new map and better stuff in your... I then become a bit like focused on it and I become a bit picky. And then I sat for like an hour the other day just playing match after match and losing one, winning one, losing
because
one,
you desperately wanted the new cards
I knew that
so much.
I was 2 wins off being in the next tier, but I just kept losing, winning, back and forth. And usually I never do that, but it's always on the verge of the new ranks. So I don't know. I mean, it's pretty cool, but it's funny how like it's a game with rankings, but I'm never going to be satisfied. You just always want more. And I mean, that's
dark because you will never see all the content.
Yeah, no, I won't. But if you want to join us playing,
sold, Matt. Where can I sign up to this?
It wasn't me, but some guys who listen to the podcast started up a little kind of clan. There isn't much like collaboration in the clan. It's just you give each other cards and you can chat a little bit.
Not the way Matt plays it, anyway.
No, I'm a lone wolf. I don't need no boss or friends or cats.
But if you would like to help Matt get to the next level.
Yeah, well, I think I'll say this. I think it's called Fun Wraiths. It's spelt like Fun Wraiths, one of the fans.
Like our patrons who support us on patreon.com.
Yes, so I think it was a bunch of patrons who built this little clan. And just search for it. I'm on the Android one, but there might be one on the iPhone, Apple stuff as well. I don't know. I haven't got one of those things. But yeah, just look for the Fun Wraiths clan.
Oh, you should be playing this on iPad. It's really good on iPad.
I'm sure it is because you have more room for...
More room. It's like been, especially made for the iPad and big buttons.
Well, yeah,
huge
it's also the fact like where you're dropping stuff as well.
It's like one of those old phones made by Fisher-Price in the 80s with like massive square buttons, but in a good way.
I'm in too deep now. That's the problem. Like, unless I start a new one, but that's a bad idea. But yeah.
Oh, God.
If you're looking for a clan, then join that one because there's only about 15 people. And the problem with this, though, is you can only have 50 people in a clan. And I swear, like, by next week...
It's fine, man.
I can't get in.
The people will find a way. They'll make a new clan.
To be honest, for ages, I was just in a clan called Ghosts.
I joined a clan for people from Newcastle in England. It was called Cool Newcastle or something.
So you just search for cool and I search for Ghosts. That's pretty funny.
Between us, we have a sensible idea.
All of mine was Spanish. It was great. There was a lot of Spanish chat going on. Lots of people kept getting kicked out of the clan, but I never did.
I got some weird. There was some beef in the Newcastle clan as well.
Bloody hell.
Very weird. I kept my head down, man. I didn't want to mess with those dangerous types.
No, don't get involved with clan wars, mate. Yeah. Jesus.
In real life or in Clash of Clans, despite the misleading name.
Any of that, I know, right?
Don't ever clash with another clan, kids.
It's terrible.
It's fucking bad.
They'll break your biscuits, your fingers, everything. What have you been playing?
I've been playing Fallen London, but more than anything, I want to talk about how much I've been enjoying Hitman.
Go for it, yeah.
So people might be aware that Hitman, like popular game Tomb Raider, starring Miss Tombs, Raider Tombs. Tombs Raider Tombs. So they've kind of rebooted Hitman because it doesn't have a number after it, but it's got this completely bizarre business model. I mean, I guess you must have talked about it a bit before.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm pretty sure I talked about, I tried to get into it.
You know what, man? I did as well. And people, in case they're not aware, it's got a completely bizarre structure. And like a lot of classy publishers, like what they're doing with Street Fighter V, it is early access, but they're calling it something different because early access has like implications that a big publisher doesn't want to associate itself with. Anyway, it doesn't matter because
from Square Enix, who are more than happy to just go all in on that right
now,
guess with Hitman and Final Fantasy and all that.
Yeah, so anyway, the point is that they released Hitman with like a tutorial, a way bigger complex tutorial, and then the first mission, which is this beautiful Parisian heist show, and it is that Parisian level is the biggest, best, most beautiful Hitman level ever designed. Like, it has something like 30 different ways like to kill the two respective targets. It's got tens of different groups you can like pose as.
Yeah, as we said, I still just bounced off that.
So did I. But they released a new level called Sapienza, which is set in Italy. And the funny thing about that is that with the fashion show, well, for a start, out of the gate, it is a better level. And I agree with lots of the reviews that have been saying that Hitman is borrowing from all different spy genres with every level it makes. Mm-hmm. So this is much more of like a sunny Italy James Bond level.
Ooh, that's one of my favourite flavours of James Bond.
Ooh, it's good. You know, with the glasses, you're wearing like a sort of crisp summer suit with short sleeves.
Yeah.
There's like hairdressers and greengrocers, and you're sat outside this big, beautiful mansion, and you just got to get in there, kill a man.
Classic Bond tropes.
Do you know how oh, dude. I mean,
love how every Bond film has a greengrocer and a hairdresser.
And at some point, all the greengrocer stuff falls off.
All the melons roll down the street, and then the hairdresser
James Bond doesn't care
and gives the guy a mullet.
He's running so fast, and it's good. I killed the guy on the Sapienza level. This isn't much of a spoiler because, holy shit, the game wants to tell you immediately every way you can kill the guy. But he's a bit of a weird tech sort of isolation person, and he's seeing a therapist. And I knocked out the therapist and left him in a toilet, and then dressed as the therapist, left my gun in the toilet, walked in, got frisked, walked all the way up to my meeting with the guy, sat on the couch, talked to him a bit about his feelings. I got an achievement for that, and then strangled him with a pillow while he was lying on the couch. And it's just great. So here's the thing. I bounced off the Paris level as well because lots of the opportunities in that level are a bit hidden. And like this is a whole big system it's got where as you're walking for a while, it'll have Hitman notice something and then you can press a button that toggles on this series of sub-objectives.
Yeah, they had that in...
Yeah, you said it was in Absolution as well.
No, it was in this. It was in it definitely was in the tutorial as well.
Yeah, and it's in the tutorial, right? But the Paris level, there are
Didn't have that many of them, I remember.
It actually has something like 18.
Wow.
But they're all a bit hidden, and to get to any of them, you have to like be poking around out of the way, usually dressed as a member of staff.
Sure.
Which is the reason I bounced off the Paris level, same as you, because you walk around for a bit, you experiment for a bit, you don't really see an obvious way.
Well, I spent a lot of time going around just scoping out the whole bottom layer of that place.
Which isn't that much fun.
No, well, the problem was I was like, I wanted to find what to do, and I had some ideas, but then I couldn't find the right costumes, and I kept going into places and being in, like, oh, you're not supposed to be in here.
Right.
Sorry.
Okay, so the first thing that Sapienza, the new Italian level, does, right? You take a couple of steps to the right, and you see a woman yelling up at a man on a balcony, and she's going like, come on, don't be late for work, it's your first day. And he's like this slob, and he's like, I'll be fine. You know, the chef's not going to wait. And you realise that it's his first day as a kitchen trainee and no one's met him.
Right.
So immediately it's like, you can just go get into his apartment, knock him out, take his clothes, job done. You're in there as a kitchen trainee. Or you can do the psychologist thing that I did. Yeah. Or you can go to church and encounter an employee who's gone to church. Or you can go to a hairdresser.
And I mean, that's what I love about Hitman when it's at its best. It's almost like this sort of like... happenstance, this silly, it's like you are the protagonist of reality, and it knows that, and that's one Hitman, like, and Absolution did that really well, I thought, of having like just moments where it's like right at the very start of the game it had this thing about a guy like one of the bodyguards was on the phone to his wife, and he's just like, and then he's just calling somebody, like being like telling his wife that he's just had a phone from the doctors and he's got the all clear, but he's doing it by a window. Like, you're outside the window, and this is the part of the tutorial where it tells you how to pull people out of the windows and
nice.
into the clothy end of a cliff, and it's just like hilarious. It's like the whole point is that it's like it knows it's you. You're here. You are magical. You're special.
Yeah.
And this is so the fact that you have somebody being like, oh, nobody knows what you look like first day of job. And it's just when you're able to just waltz into these things with a grin on your face. Whereas, I think you're right. With the first level in Paris, it was an amazing spectacle, but it felt like they were relying more on the groundhog thing.
Yeah, so here's the thing. Like, once you've done the Paris level once, and just once, and like I say, I was in exactly the same boat as you. I just couldn't quite see my way into the fun. But once you've completed the Paris level once you've said, I disguise myself as the male model who looks like Hitman. Yeah. And then you ask to see if you can have your
stuff
appointment.
Like that is perfect. The fact you walk in and there's a male model who looks exactly like you.
Done.
It's hilarious.
So, but once you've done the mission, on your way, once you're in the inner sanctum, and once you've killed your target and you're leaving again, you will take a path and Hitman will notice something else. Like, so the Sapienza level is like, I did my amazing cool hit, because there are 18 opportunities, you're going to find one, you're going to do something wicked, you're going to kill them. And on my way out, I passed the target's mum's bedroom, and from like scuttlebutt from the servants, I'd heard that like, oh yeah, ever since his mum died, he left the mum's bedroom exactly the same. Like, anyone who goes in there and touches anything, he goes ballistic. And then so on my way out, I passed his mum's bedroom, and the guy's dead, right? But I opened it up, and I noticed that because of the way the room's laid out, and this thing pops up, that basically you can make him think his mum is haunting him. You can set up a hat on a chair and then turn on a fan so the rocking chair is rocking. You play her old gramophone. And, and then it's like, okay, that's cool. And I left the mission. And all I wanted to do was do it again, but have him be haunted. And then, here's the thing. As soon as you've just broken past that little crusty shell of this is cool, but I don't know what to do, the game just starts, giving you this juicy, delicious Hitman fruit. They've done such a poor job of explaining what the escalation missions are, which is you've got this beautiful sandbox. You finish the mission, you've done it, and then it goes, do you want to do an escalation? And that will say just kill the chef in hand-to-hand combat is the first Sapienza one. And then you start it, and it doesn't even tell you this, but the whole thing about escalation is that you can't save the game.
So you have to just do it in one go.
You have to do it in one go. If you get rumbled, that's fine, but you better hope that you can shoot your way out. And then as soon as you've done the first level of kill the chef, it goes, great. Now kill the chef and hack the laptop in one run. And then you do that, and it goes, great. Now kill the chef, hack the laptop, and kill this other target in the basement. Again, all in one run. And it's such a perfect test of your skills and how well you know the level. And you're right that Groundhog Daying a level is part of Hitman, but with now the new Hitman reboot, here's the cool thing. You Groundhog Day, but every Groundhog Day loop, you do something cool. You kill them in a new way, or you have a different objective. It just, with the Paris level, it put a little barrier in the way that was slightly too big, and they've completely rectified that.
Well, it seems really dumb as well, but it was, like I said earlier, it was like the kind of James Bond tourism aspect. I think just knowing that I can have two places that I can jump between, two big places to explore.
Yeah.
So if I get bored of the Paris one, I'm going to go and explore
the other one. And you know what?
One.
You don't have to even complete the Paris one before doing the Italy one first.
Yeah.
And you know what else? If you complete the Italy one, as you level up either of the two areas, you unlock things like, I've done the Paris one, and one of the early levels of the Paris one is a sniper rifle. Anything you unlock, and they're all unique unlocks for either destination, you can take into any future destination they release.
That's very cool.
It's neat, man. I got a wall breaching charge from the Sapienza one, and it's think about how many locked doors there are in that Paris level. It's yeah, I'll just breach my way like a SWAT team with a shotgun and kill. It's so much fun. So yeah, that's me. End of rant about Hitman.
It's good because I felt really bad when I first approached it because I kind of enjoyed the intro stuff, and then I found it was just a bit big, and I just bounced off it really hard.
I'm telling you, man, just do the Sapienza level first, and then do the Paris level, and then join me in just being so unbelievably excited for the Morocco level that's coming next.
It was just, I just felt bad because it's almost like, I could tell it was this beautifully crafted thing, amazing.
It's stunning. It's one of the most amazing environments I've ever been in.
It's like somebody just brought me out a selection of some of the world's rarest cheeses and told me what they all are, and then I was like, I don't really want it.
Yeah.
And I felt bad. I was like, so I'm glad that you're excited about it. I need to go and check it out again.
Yeah, seriously, the Sapienza thing will just whet your appetite for the next level. And also, don't think I've spoiled anything because I think I've given away 2 secrets in a level with something like 40 secrets.
Yeah. I mean, there's a line with these things. I think it's I think it's fine. I think it's when you've got a breadth of experiences like that, it's always reasonable to give people a taste just so you can actually get them interested in the first place.
Exactly.
With linear experiences, it's different, but with stuff like that,
with a sandbox, it's tease people what's in the sandbox.
Yeah, you've got to. Otherwise, you can't just be like, there's sand.
All right, okay, enough incredible excitement.
I've been playing.
What have you been playing?
Something that's not incredibly exciting. But I've been enjoying it. I've been playing the alpha demo for Nioh.
This is on
It's on PlayStation 4. Might be on other things. Other consoles are available. I've been playing it on PS4 because it's there. And it's a Team Ninja Koei Tecmo thing.
Famous for Dead or Alive and Ninja Gaiden?
Yeah, probably more famous for Ninja Gaiden than Dead or Alive. Probably infamous these days for Dead or Alive stuff. But yeah, basically...
Developers of Cool Ninjas and Volleyball.
I don't know if Team Ninja did the volleyball games. I don't think they did. Anyway.
I'm going to Google it while you're talking.
Okay, you do. But yeah, so it's basically what's happened with this is they've looked at Namco Bandai's Dark Souls series and they've gone, oh, they're making money, aren't they? And they thought, we'd like some money. And so what they've done is they've used their kind of vague expertise in third-person action games and ninja shit to make a ninja shit version samurai ninja thing of Dark Souls.
And it's funny because a sort of Japanese themed Asian Dark Souls would be awesome, and that was my initial response. Then I realized it's just the same, it's the Ninja Gaiden assets and historical research they've already done applied to Dark Souls, which suddenly makes it seem lazy. On the subject, Team Ninja did in fact make Dead or Alive Extreme 3 and 2 and 1.
Wait, Extreme Volleyball? Yeah, no, oh yeah, they did, yeah. No, because I forget that about Team Ninja, because they were all headed up.
They're perverts.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, like they're experts at like, you know, combat systems, and also just massive pervs. It was the guy who was like the head, who was just always looked like a bit of a creep, let's be honest.
Oh, anyway. Yeah, him, yes, I forget his name.
Sort of guy who when you're like 12 or 13, you think, man, that's the coolest guy in the world. And then when you're an adult, you go, what's up with that guy?
Oh, he is is it Itagaki, the guy in the cool rock star leather jacket?
Yeah. I'm just taking a piss out of someone looks now, but hey, I'm an adult. It's what adults do. Anyway, it's fun. It's kind of it is ridiculous. It's just such an obvious kind of attempt at a cash in, because it is like all of the Eastern stuff, but then the main character looks like a fucking Viking. It's like,
he is astonishingly white.
Yeah, like,
for a game set in Japan.
It still has the kind of samurai like ponytail, but very blonde hair, very Western face,
blue eyes. Yeah. It was funny because it did look like Dark Souls, but like Dark Souls it looked like Ninja Gaiden, but where everyone had like sort of osteoporosis and was just super tired all the time.
Yeah. Yeah.
You can do a cool move, but you do two of them and then you just need to sit down for a bit.
Yeah, that is it. It's funny, like it's like they've towed the line as close as they can go to like ripping stuff off without like probably getting involved with legal trouble. Like, I like the fact that you've still got the kind of like the sword and the appearance of flames, but it's not actually a sword and a fire. It's like your spirit animal and a sword, and that's where you died. So rather than it being a green blood patch, it's like an orange fiery sword patch. That's where you. So it's almost like things have just been circled around bit. So
it's like a weird blender. Like, so what else is it? So where people have died previously in Dark Souls, you can press a button and then see how they died as a ghost.
Yep.
Whereas in this, the ghost comes alive and is an enemy you can attack.
Yes.
Which is the same mechanic for like when you're invaded in Dark Souls.
Yes. So I don't know if they're going to in the full game, because this is just an alpha, to be fair. I do not know what their plans are with the full game in terms of online stuff. But in this, it basically means they have these little death patches, and it tells you the level of the person, what equipment they have, in a very simple little circle with colours, and I'll come back to that in a second, and then what their name is and how they died. So it'll tell you, like, got killed by this, or often I found lots of people who just drowned. It's like, okay, you want to see how far you could go into the sea, fair enough. But then it means you can summon them in, you can have a little fight with them, and then when you kill them, you'll often get good loot. And this is the weird thing, is actually, despite the fact that they've taken the very core premise of Dark Souls, i.e. walk around, you've not got many potions, and you've got to not get killed, and if you get killed, then you lose your experience and have to go and get it, etc. But with this sort of like samurai-style combat with different weapon stances, like, you know, defensive,
that looked neat.
Medium, offensive, and then a proper like combat system which is a lot more like that kind of old school third-person action game of being a bit more like input-based and having like stance switches mid-combo and having that combo rhythm, you know, and that's something which I guess a lot of games haven't done for a while. And that was what weirdly got me into it. I was like, I thought I'd check it out, but actually it wasn't the whole it's a bit like Dark Souls thing that got me into it at all. It was more that I'm like, oh man, I've forgotten how much I enjoy kind of slightly...
A nice bit of slashy hacking.
Yeah, but...
I mean, I feel like the hacking and the slashing would have to be super good, because if there is a Japanese developer that I don't trust with narrative and world building, it's the dudes behind fucking Ninja Gaiden and Breasts.
Yeah, precisely. And that's why, like, you know, they've done a good job with the hacky slashy stuff. It's weird, like, especially like...
Is it better combat than Dark Souls?
Oh, I don't know. That's difficult. It's really placed differently. Like, in terms of the combat, it plays very differently.
But is it better?
I don't know. I only played it for about an hour.
Okay.
It's really... I mean, also, you don't have as many weapons. Like, you have, like, kind of katana...
But they're explored more.
Yes, basically.
And spear.
You have combo trees. So it's like properly going back in time a bit, in a way of being like, you can level up and get new moves and then choose which moves you want to make your combo trees.
God, it is really like... Dark Gaiden, I guess.
Yeah. Well, it's like, or
Ninja Souls.
The thing was, when the games like Batman came and kind of redefined like third-person combat, it was really cool at the time to have something pared down like that, something where like you would almost like have a system whereby your combos would flow quite accurately, and you had to keep them together by reacting to input and being like using the right dodge at the right time. Whereas,
I love Batman, the Rocksteady Batman games' combat system so much. It's
awesome. But it's actually quite nice to have this reminder of being like, oh yeah, this is more like, rather than having to react to stuff all the time, it's more just you hammering forward and switching between stances and doing these different attacks, and it's more on you rather than reacting. I mean, Batman was awesome because it was just like, you've got to do this now, you've got to do this now, and it was all about reactions and speed, and if you pulled it off, it just made you look awesome. Whereas in this, it's like, it's all on you. Like, you've got all these different weapons, all these different moves, and you've just got to like work out good combos and work out how to do this situation. And
sounds neat.
It's just like an old school PS2 like action game.
Yeah, what happens in it aside from combat? Is there like a boss? Is there a bit of story?
I haven't even got to whether or not there's a boss so far.
Yeah, I saw you running around a bit of like grassy, like sort of scrubland, and it looked very like barren.
Yeah, it's just dark and there's a village and there's lots of samurais and people get tired. Again, it's very much like they call the stamina something else, but it's basically just stamina. But it is nice the fact that when you're doing these combos, you can, if you get the timing right, then you basically regain a bit of, if you can do your combos perfectly timed and you're doing stuff in between, you can regain your stamina that you've always spent, which means you can be fighting for longer. But if you're just hammering the buttons, then it's kind of, the way to put it is, in Dark Souls, it makes you commit to a sword swing by being like, you press the button. It's like, you press the button. And sometimes people get fucked off with that because what happens is they'll panic and they'll press the button twice. And that means it's going to do it twice. Even if you didn't, like, it's like, it will queue stuff up a bit and it will just be like, what? You wanted to swing the sword twice, so we swung it twice.
Did you not want to press the sword?
Yeah.
Okay, I don't understand. Why'd you press the button?
Why did you press it twice? Whereas in this, it's like, it's not as slow as that. It's much more reactive. You press the button, something happens. However, it has a different kind of negative side to when you're just hammering the button. Because when you're hammering the buttons, it's much more horrible when you run out of stamina. When you run out of stamina, your character just starts panting and just stops. And you lose complete control for about a second, which is enough time to get hit in the face with an axe and killed. So it's much more, requires you to be much more considered with your action, but in a different way. And the pace of the combat's a lot faster. But I don't know what it does, but it reminded me a lot of the kind of Tenchu games in a way, and it's like a cross between kind of an action game and an action fighter and a Tenchu game.
Isn't there we might have to cut this out, but isn't there a Tenchu type game coming out that is called
quite possibly
something?
I don't know. I mean, quite possibly, but
there quite possibly may be a game about ninjas from the third-person perspective in development.
But it's just weird. It just has a different type of fluff to it as well. Like, even though it takes all of the spine of Dark Souls, it also has like that kind of classic Koei Tecmo in like treasure style thing of being like, oh, here's loads of stats you don't really 100% understand. And it's not just like, you got the long sword and that's an item. Like, it's like you get a slightly better long sword and you get like, oh, I got a blue long sword. It's like, it does more damage this, or it has like wind damage, or it does more. And then like really specific things, like it'd be like, oh, your endurance will be like, your stamina will be like 20% used less when you use the high stance, like the aggressive stance. And you might just be like, oh, okay, I'll use that. So it doesn't seem to have the same like barriers. But to be honest, it's quite fun. Especially I realised that was the point of summoning in the Phantoms, because as I said, you'd see what a colour of equipment they had. And if they had like a blue helmet or something, or a purple helmet, you're like, this character's got a rare helmet. And it means if you kill them, there's a chance that they might actually drop the equipment that they have.
Okay.
So it means you can be like, oh, he's got a good spear, I want a good spear, and you can summon them in and try and beat them. And also it's like, you can summon in people who are higher level than you by quite a bit. You can be like level 5 and summon in somebody who's like level 15 and be like, well, try your fucking chances. Because it is that thing of like, it's hard, but you can do it, especially because you do get cool like parries and combos and counters and you can do all sorts of stuff.
I'm interested. Do we know when it's out?
No idea.
Okay.
It's like, I played it for an hour, I just found it mindless and enjoyable. It was that kind of slightly shonky action game. I just sort of thought, weirdly, if somebody said to me, oh, it's like, oh, you gotta check this out, it's like kind of Samurai Dark Souls, I'd be like, I feel like I'm done with the whole format. But despite the fact that on the surface it is just an unbelievable ripoff, in terms of how it plays really differently. And it's like, this is just kind of a fun thing. I was like, actually, I enjoyed it a lot more than I was expecting, basically.
That's good.
Yeah.
I feel like you have a sort of nice soft spot for a well-made, straightforward game.
Well, yeah, it's weird. Like, it's I never even like used to play any of the Team Ninja stuff. Like, I know lots of like people in Ninja Gaiden and stuff, and I know now there are probably people listening to this going, "Oh my god, how can this guy be saying about like the combat being slightly chunky?" I don't even know if Team Ninja are even that good anymore. Let's be honest. Like, I know lots of people revered them at the time of the Xbox, but they've put out a lot of junk in the past like 10 years, and. Yeah, this doesn't feel like I don't know if this is a return to form. I doubt it is, because I think Ninja Gaiden is one of those games that like they were really, really like perfect in some regards. This doesn't. I'm not an action fan connoisseur. It doesn't feel perfect to me. But it's nice, it's fun, and it's a bit cute. It's got weird little spirits with pots on their heads.
Yeah, they wear little chipped pots and they want to help you out.
And there's something surreal about when you die, rather than it being like the kind of you're dead of Dark Souls of just being like you failed. In this, like when the loading screen comes up, it plays fucking flute music, and it's just like it just feels like a bit less serious and a bit lighter, and it's quite welcome. Anyway, the demo is, like I say, it's a timed demo.
Yeah, you know what? Try it yourself.
Try it yourself until the timed demo says you can't play it anymore. That's how time demos work. I still can't believe that in 2016
we have one.
We have one again. It's weird.
It's like, what is that? Is it like Cinderella, where they're just worried that if you play it for more than 15 minutes, you'll realise that it might not be that exciting?
I don't know. I mean, it's more than 50, because I was expecting it to be like 10, 15 minutes, but it must be a while, because I played it for I think I played it for about an hour, maybe less than that. Maybe it is an hour long.
Wow.
But, I mean, I was having fun with it, and I kept wanting to play it. In a way, like maybe they were confident enough with it, they were like, yeah,
it's not like you play it for an hour and it deletes itself, is it? PT has completely warped all my idea of what Sony can and can't do to my PS4.
I kind of wonder if maybe they just put I kind of wonder if it's almost like a kind of old school thing of trying to reward like hardcore players, of being like, if you're really good,
you know what I heard,
you're going to be able to see more of it.
This week, I forgot whether my PS4 was a PS4 or in fact a PS3.
Wow.
Yeah.
I could have told you that.
Wait, I'd hope, frankly. But I couldn't remember if there was a machine between the PS2 and the PS... see, now I'm saying it sounds insane.
It does sound insane, yeah. What's after 2? Is it 3 or 4?
I couldn't remember name a PS3 game.
Metal Gear Solid 4.
Okay. Let's move on.
Uncharted 2.
I took you to... see, but which Uncharted? Uncharted was a PS2
Uncharted
game.
2 and 3.
Whatever, man. You were on magazine. This isn't fair. Abort this whole conversation.
The PlayStation 2 was out for 10 years.
I know. And then it was the PS3. The thing is, I couldn't remember.
No, the PS3 was out for 10 years.
Oh. The PS2 was out for ages.
I'm pretty sure, I'm pretty sure the PS3 and the Xbox 360 are like the two of the longest consoles.
You know who we are now? We are those two really old Muppets that sit in the balcony and judge everybody. Oh, wow, we actually did the...
Yeah, we did it. And then we did it.
Oh, God.
Kill us now.
Ask me about Fallen London, Matthew.
What's Fallout? What's Fallout?
What's Fallout?
Tell me about. No, Fallen London, I'm interested in this because the one thing that I didn't get on with
Sunless Sea was the game.
But I love the stories.
Yeah, well, I tell you
Fallen
what.
London.
Fallen London. So Fallen
It's just stories, right?
It's the browser game that created the whole ridiculous world across many, many years that Sunless Sea is then set in. And if you like Sunless Sea's storytelling and, it's multiple choice selections and it's skill-based, you can try this, but you'll probably fail, all of that comes straight from Fallen London. So the two things I'll say firstly is it uses a sort of... the time-based management system, which is in all mobile games now, where you have 20 actions every 8 hours and they gradually refresh. Mm-hmm. Except I did it before that, and it's a lot gentler, especially if you subscribe and you pay them £5 a month or $7.50. Then you're a subscriber, you get a big fancy story every month, and you get double the actions, which is good.
Yeah.
And I'm doing that right now because, my God, otherwise it's free. If you want to see if you enjoy it, it is completely free. And the reason I'm playing it now is they've just released an iOS app. So you can play it on your phone or your iPad. Ask me how the iOS app is, Matthew.
How's the iOS app?
Bad.
Oh.
It's, you know what? It's fine when it works, but...
Are you playing it on a phone or iPad?
I've tried both, and on both it has the same problem where on 4G or on my actual home internet connection, it still takes... somewhere like 4.5 minutes to boot up. It has to check everything, and then while I'm playing, there is a chance it will try to sync my character and do that again. But when it's actually running, so what I did, while you were doing some camera equipment today and I was waiting for you, I set it loading. So I start the app and then put the phone in my pocket with the touchscreen facing away from my thighs, which will cause my phone to get too excited.
Yep.
And then 4.5 minutes later, I'll take the phone out and it'll be ready to go and I'll have a great time and then it's fine. Then it works.
Wow.
And it's good. But I have been playing it half on my phone doing that and then half in a browser. And now finally we arrive at the fact I've been having an awesome time. I'm so happy it's been.
Can you play it in the browser on your iPad?
Yes.
And does it work as well?
You definitely could, because it's HTML, basic
Because
stuff.
the thing is, I haven't got an iPhone. They have talked about putting it on Android as well at some point. But yeah, like I kind of like the idea of it being something in my pocket. But if it's going to take ages to load up, then that's not really ideal.
Yes. I mean, I don't know what I can do to manage defense.
No. I'm also just being like, I just want to know, like, as a gamer.
You don't try both, dude.
But it doesn't need to be online, like, because I'm thinking.
Okay, so the weird thing about
because I want to play it on the tube and stuff.
So you can, I think, play it on the tube, and then there is a good chance that you'll make it out to the other side of the tube, take it out, and then it will sync. It'll try and sync once you're out of the tube.
Okay.
And as opposed to when you're in it.
Maybe you can have a go at this and then let me know.
How about you do it?
I'm like a dad at I haven't got an iPhone.
Just do it on your iPad around the house.
I feel like I'm a dad at an electronics boutique 20 years ago.
I'm not going to do this for you,
Can you tell me about this game? What is about this game?
Dad, stop embarrassing me.
How about, can I have a go on this one at
Dad,
home?
can we go?
Can we go on a train and play this?
Dad, I'm walking out.
Okay, so...
But the game... Okay, so what people also should need to know about the world, if they've not played Sunless Sea, is that the world of Fallen London is like... Oh, God, I am going to struggle for adjectives to describe this. It is very funny, very cool, and very dark, and it's the idea that London has, like, fallen through the earth and exists beneath... in a kind of purgatory. Like, there's no daylight, there's big stalactites above the city, there's bats everywhere. If you die, you come back to life. You know, you all drink, like, the candles are all made of bat guano. Everyone's drinking absinthe and laudanum, and it's, who's the guy who made Nightmare Before Christmas? Tim Burton. Deeply, kind of, if Tim Burton were not a filmmaker but a novelist, kind of?
Yeah, and also if Tim Burton wasn't, like, very repetitive and trite.
Sure. So there are 4 stats, which should give you an idea of, like, how the game goes, which are persuasiveness, which you use if you want to seduce people or be a writer. There is
That's how it works,
There's
right?
watchfulness if you want to be, like, a dabbling spy or be, like, a Sherlock Holmes type. Get involved in Sherlock Holmes type plot lines. If you like Sherlock, then that's what for you. There's dangerous, which turns you into, like, a sort of Guy Ritchie ruffian who goes around hunting rats and bruising people. Or there is a 4th stat, Matthew. There's a 4th one. Do you want to know what it is?
Batness.
It's shadowy, which if you want to be like a pickpocket, like a Batman type, and you want to be like a career criminal, but it doesn't ever restrict you. Like the whole game, and this is why it's interesting, is it's like, what do you want to do? And like, you know, you can start off as a pickpocket, but then you go to like the Watchmaker's Hill, I think that's the name of it, which is like the dangerous district. And then you hunt some rats and you start making friends and connections there, or you wander off to the persuasive district and you get into like a weird drug habit or start trying to hang with bohemians. And like, I've prodded it. I must have played it for like 10 hours or something now. And I've opened so many doors, made so many friends. And the thing I find interesting about it is a radically different interpretation of what an RPG should be. Because traditionally in the West, like an RPG is a story, like Mass Effect and stuff is like Mass Effect or, you know, Dragon Age tends to be, we've got this big main thrust that we're following, and then occasionally you'll have loads of fun on the way. Like, you know, like Mass Effect's final piece of DLC where it's you all hanging out at the Citadel, right?
Yeah.
Or think about Mass Effect's loyalty missions. Think about the fun stuff you could do in Mass Effect. Now remove the main game, remove the main plot line, and just have it so that you are Commander Shepard living a life, going anywhere, more like a series of Star Trek rather than a Star Trek movie.
That's the funny thing. After playing Mass Effect 2, that was all I wanted.
Yeah.
I didn't want a finale. I just wanted some sort of subscription-based thing where every couple of weeks I could go on an adventure with these people.
That is what Fallen London is. And because it's been running for 7 years, or that's actually,
so much
that's
stuff
I guess,
in there.
there's an unbelievable amount of stuff. And every time you subscribe, you get a big long story every month, but you can pay them a few extra pennies to get access to all the ones they've done in month. Not well. You pay like a few, let's say you've got an evening in by yourself, you pay them like 40p and then you get an hour's long adventure, you know?
Yeah.
And it's great, man. Like it's again interesting because the stuff I'm choosing to not do is defines you as much as stuff you choose to do. Like the fact that I'm not siding with the police and not exploring that content yet, that's giving my character like this depth of like I'm connected with like bohemians and urchins and criminals right now. But at any point, like you're never committed like you are in so many Western RPGs of like I can abruptly drop all my drug habits and just like start hanging out with royalty and then develop those stats and connect with royalty. It's just a little life. It's a tiny little life in my pocket, except with more bats.
It's very cool. And I remember, there was a lot of similar systems in Sunless Sea, especially in terms of like, you know, kind of wits and like having that thing of like choosing things. But I just remember the whole whole problem with that was being like, well, you just always, it's always good to be like good at firing cannons on your boat and stuff. And it was just like, you'd always want to focus towards the combat stats because it was the combat stats that would stop you from playing the game if they weren't good enough. So you wanted to be good as you can at surviving, like, on the sea.
Man, that's the tragedy is that's actually not quite true, but I completely understand.
Felt like that.
Exactly. This is one of the many ways that Sunless Sea failed is that you think it's so many other things than it is.
Yeah.
Like, you think it's about making money, it's not. Like, the developers were completely taken off guard by how many people who played Sunless Sea wanted to explore the economics and were sharing tips of how to make money, and the developers like, what are you doing? This is a story about being broke and drunk and sad and making terrible decisions. And on that note, the thing that I did love about Sunless Sea of like having plot lines which ended in just death, misery, sadness, like decisions that were genuinely life or death, or stuff my captain did in Sunless Sea where I felt so small and pathetic.
Yeah.
It's Sunless Sea is a bit more of a Mass Effect 2 where being a captain is hard and it's dark. Fallen London is like more like a sitcom, right? Where everything that happens tends to be very wry and very funny, and it is no less enjoyable for that. And it sometimes does get very serious or sad, but far more than that, it's just jovial and it wants to make you smile. Think like the BBC Sherlock, where every single scene has a joke in it, except for when it doesn't. You know what I mean?
Sort of seems like With Nail and I in a broken world.
With Nail, yes. Yeah, I mean...
Occasionally sad and a bit too real.
I tell you what, you can certainly play it as like a very ruthless With Nell type. If you want an RPG that lets you roleplay a drunk, high With Nell who's like writing but will never make anything of his book, you can do that. It's great. It's fine.
It sounds interesting. It sounds like a lot of fun. And I kind of like the fact that you almost have like a quota of things you can do, so you don't just burn out. You just keep popping back.
You know what's funny is because today I've been really busy, I wanted a way to quickly burn all my actions, and so my character is today writing a book. Like he's got a really high persuasive stat, and I'm following this plot of like, writing a story, and then just like it's not like in Mass Effect where you'd have to do like 3 sets. I don't know why I'm comparing it to Mass Effect at the time. I guess it's the last RPG I really loved. But like writing a book would be in real life, the way they've modeled it is like you can write pages and you can edit pages down and write pages and edit pages down, and then that will slowly increase the stats of what you're writing. But maybe you don't even know. Like, I don't know if I'm going to send this off as a short story or try and write my masterpiece that my character will be polishing forever.
It's mad that you're even describing a game, like considering this. Yeah, but
this is one of those.
Yeah,
it's one of those things of like, as soon as you leave the mainstream, it is astonishing how broad and how much more games can offer. Yeah. Which is what Sunless Sea could do because it was a browser game and the cost of developing it was so low. But guess what? People are playing it. There's adverts for Sunless Sea. I mean, Fallen London. There's adverts for Fallen London on the London Tube now. Like, these games have a market, it turns out. Anyway.
I'm going to be checking it out.
Play Fallen London. It's free. Matt is now loading up the questions, comments thread, which you can find on coolghosts.net. If you want to ask a question to the Daft Souls podcast, you can do that.
Yeah, go coolghosts.net, and then there'll be a Daft Souls thing at the top. Go to that page, and then it has a big bloody button that says Ask Us Questions. And as we say most weeks, you can come and ask a question, or you just come and upvote things that you want to get heard. We haven't been doing as many, but it's good, because in a way, we get these cream of the questions, and sometimes if we just answer one question well, I think a good question, a good answer, it's fine.
Is that what we're going to do today?
I don't know. We'll see. How are we doing for time?
Matt is feeling...
I'm literally talking the wrong way. This is the problem, is I'm the person with the eyesight good enough to read them.
Yeah.
Can you read from here?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Well, you're going to do the reading of the question.
Okay, here we go. Paul C.
I've done...
Oh, he's sorted by newest and not best.
I can edit this.
Here we go, kids.
This is.
Oh, it's the comment thread that we answered last week, and another one. Are we cutting this out? Okay. Here we go. James Ferbs says, I'm
Jamie Forbes.
a Gomor with, quote, severe... you know what, Matt? I'm going to let you do this.
Oh, God. I'm a gamer with quite severe visual impairment, so there's a certain game features available in only some titles that I'd love to be in all titles. Chiefly, I'm going to come out to your side of the bloody microphone here. Chiefly, UI scaling or customization, excellently done in Kerbal Space Program and Final Fantasy XIV. So I have 2 questions. What feature of gaming, be it design or technical, should be standard issue? Ooh, or if you prefer, what's your favourite or notably interesting portrayal of disability in games? His recommendation on this would actually be The Minor Miracle is Katawa Shuju.
Oh, that is the dating sim where you're dating people with disabilities, isn't it?
I don't know.
No, that I am thinking of a completely different Christine Lovegain, I think.
I don't know. I don't know.
If I answer your first question, is it going to be terrible if I temporarily don't talk about disability? I feel like that's what he's chasing. Coming from the board game industry, colorblindness is a big and tremendously straightforward thing that you can do to ensure that, because it turns out there's a lot of colors in the world and it's not so complicated to
in
ensure.
video games as well, it's so easy because you can just have a mode where you switch it on and off, and actually lots of games do, but that's something that clearly should just be an option. Why wouldn't you?
But if I'm the feature of gaming that more traditionally I say that should be standard issue and everything, Kieran Gillen does say that Gears of War's active reload should be in literally every game.
It's weird that it isn't. It's weird that it's really rare that it pops up. Because
it's very weird that it's not in Enter the Gungeon as well, which has very long reload times, and it would just fit very neatly there.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm always reticent with these things of being standard issue stuff. I think the colorblindness one, and there are a few things like that of just accessibility stuff that just should be, because especially colorblindness, it's so easy just swapping colours. It's not difficult as long as you code the game in the first place with that in mind eventually. But I'm always reticent with things because I often think with otherwise designed things, the idea that anything is just the right way of doing it, I think that's when you get into a mess. I think that's why the same reason as we had in the question a few weeks ago, that's the same reason why lots of people thought that Dead Rising save system was broken, just because it was different and weird, and I don't like the idea of standard stuff, but yeah. It's a tough question.
I'm wondering about my... this is a great question. I'm wondering about my favourite or most notably interesting portrayal of disability in games. And it is tricky. Sunless Sea does have some excellent characters with sort of who are somewhat broken by what they've seen. People with PTSD essentially. And... who initially try and hide that from you. If we go a bit fantastical, and I don't know if this counts or if it's me being slightly offensive, but I always really liked Thane's mental disability in Mass Effect 2, whereby his species are constantly seeing things that they did in the past. Is that right?
I can't remember.
Okay. I remember enjoying it a great deal, but
this is kind of the thing, isn't it? It's funny because...
Thane basically got crippling flashbacks, if memory serves.
I know at the moment, there's a lot of people in the interactive fiction kind of genre who are kind of a bit pissed off at the fact that lots of mainstream games now are getting lauded for narrative achievements, whilst lots of people who've been working in interactive fiction or IF are going, yeah, we've been doing this shit for years, a long time, and I kind of feel like this is probably a really good example of that. I'm sure there's loads of stuff in.
Oh god, yeah, no, but we're just.
However, that's the problem. Is when I think about most traditional games, Jesus, it's only just in the past few years got to the point where women are in games as anything other than eye candy most of the time, or tough eye candy. She's not eye candy. She's got a gun, and she grew up with her brothers, and that's why she knows to fight. And
she grew up with her brothers and was trapped in a cave for 90 years.
Yeah, she's
a tough lady.
So I think it's one of these shameful things where when somebody says to me who's your favourite disabled character, and what do you think is the best portrayal of a disabled character in video games, I literally can't think of any. I can think of so few, it's unreal.
And even if you can think of some, they're not enormously exciting. I'm sure some will come to us. People should definitely post in the comments if this stuff sells.
do
think of if there's a particularly awesome disabled character.
I'm sure there've been some that are good, but I don't know if any of them... You see, it's a combination of I don't know how many of them will have actually been a good portrayal.
I don't know if it's offensive for me to name characters that have fictional disabilities either. So, we're on thin ice. Let's let our significantly smarter audience handle that
good call. Gootmensch asks, it says, greeting from Heidelberg, Germany.
Ooh, foreign listener.
This is it. You see, this is why I say don't write too much, is because I have to bend my neck like I'm a weird... It's hard. One-line questions are my favourite ones, people.
I'm enjoying this, people.
He says, he's from Heidelberg, Germany. He says, he's around your age, I guess. How old do you think we are, Gutmensch? I'm considerably older than I look. And
I love that you're doing this leering voice because you are so close to me right now in order to read the question.
We should record podcasts like this every week.
Oh my god.
Me just sitting on your lap, basically. I'm around your age, etc. I sometimes find myself wondering, am I getting too old for some games? And I'm not talking about, I'm going to do this in an old man voice now, Goodmedge. And I'm not talking about having less time than before, but about growing out of some stuff.
when did you last play your last game? And your inner voice said, am I getting too old for this shit? Cheers, Leo.
He's called Leo, not Gootmensch. I didn't think Gootmensch isn't a name.
I definitely feel like
people, actually.
I mean, he says that this isn't to do with him not having time, but I definitely feel like if a game has a lot of padding, like a lot of like, for some reason I follow a lot of comedians who play games on Twitter who are all like 4 or 5 years older than me, and they have so little time for padding in games. Like if they have to grind, or like if a game has a bit that is just rubbish for the sake of longevity, they will just post a massive rant on Twitter and then fling the game out of the window like a discus. Which is, I am getting more like that now.
I'm like that a lot of the time, apart from when you've got games that have a really nice loop. I sometimes find that it's polar. I sometimes think, I'm too old for this shit. I can't be bothered. I don't have time. Other times I'm like, I know what this is. It's presented it to me as what it is. And I'm cool with that. Like, I was fine with Destiny because it's just like, I'm bollocks. I'm shiny, shiny bollocks. And I'm like, cool. And yet other games are like, I'm a dynamic, experienced, team-based, and it's like, no, are you actually just bollocks? It's like, maybe I am. And I don't like it when gamers pretend, when they're not just like, I'm here to suck away your life with bright colours. I'm like, okay.
That's why you like Cookie Clicker.
Yeah, I kind of like the honesty, because it's like, I do feel like with those games, it's like, if it is just mindless bollocks, you are entering into a contract, and contracts go both ways. And if I'm like, hey, what are you going to do for me? And they're like, well, have some awesome like aesthetic feedback and going to keep you really entertained for a while. And I'm like, yeah, all right, I'll give you some of my time. I'm down with that. But when games are like, no, you're having experience. It's clever. It's gritty. I'm like, well, no, am I? Is it though?
If any game was going to have caused me to decide I am too old for video games, it would have been the 2 months of Street Fighter V, of just the hardcore months of it. Because obviously, esports athletes they slow down at 18 and tend to leave the scene at 23.
Yeah.
In general, but Street Fighter V, while relying on reactions quite a lot, some of the guys who were winning tournaments of like Third Strike. I mean, Alex Vaya, I think he is, I forget his name, but he won tournaments back in the 90s, and he's still an absolute force to be reckoned with.
It's the thing, I mean, to be honest, I've moved away from
and to clarify, he's like mid-30s now.
Yeah. I've moved away from a lot of the tight reaction-based games into that. And as you found, though, because you found the more you play Street Fighter, you found eventually, actually, it was weirdly tactical, and it was weirdly actually about getting into their head.
Philosophical and psychological, yeah.
Yeah, like it was getting into their head and working out what they were going to do, which actually changes the pace of the game entirely. It's not fast anymore. It's more like you already know what they're going to do 4 turns, 4 frames ahead or whatever. But I find with like, I don't play those fast-paced things now anymore, but I find myself...
Wait, that's a big... What fast-paced stuff don't you play? Don't play Street Fighter, but like...
I don't tend to play like stuff like Call of Duty Online. And I used to enjoy things like that.
But that's because it's bad, not because it's...
No, that's not true. Not true.
Yeah, but you know what I mean. It's not something that... I don't think you don't play it because it's twitchy and, quote, for kids. I think you don't play it because you're just looking for different stuff.
No, I still like those games.
I mean, you played Devil Daggers, right?
I just rubbish at it. Yeah, but I was rubbish at that as well. But that's why Devil Daggers was great, because it was something I could enjoy very briefly and thought, wow, what a fucking electric, exciting... like thing. It's not for me, but I could still I could dip into it, have fun with it, but then not like actually play it. Because everyone kept saying, oh, what's your high score? It's like, I can't fucking play that game. Like, I mean, like, I played it for like about half an hour and thought, this is really fucking something. But I couldn't do it. Like, I'm not good enough at that shit anymore. It frazzles me. Also, it's like, it just makes me stressed out. It's like, I don't want games to make me stressed. But weirdly, I found more slow, considered things I've just become better at. I don't think of myself as being good at games.
Well, so many, I think we mentioned this when we were talking about Dark Souls 3 with Keza, but so many things that people say, oh, it's really hard within video games. No one ever, because I guess it's not good in marketing or it's not sexy in the culture, no one ever says, oh, Dark Souls is good. It requires loads of patience. Yeah. Because patience is far more required in Dark Souls than anything else.
Yeah, and that's the thing is I'm pretty good at Dark Souls now. I realised like when we did that little spoiler cast, we said, oh, this is after about 15 hours. And lots of people are like, whoa, you got really far in 15 hours. It's like, I'm good at these games, but it's because, A, I've played them enough, and also I'm better at these slower pace of games where I can just like kind of be quite measured with it. But also my patience now from playing so many of these games, my patience is pretty zen. And in a way, that now means I don't enjoy the games as much, because it means I don't get that kind of like, no, when I lose loads of souls. Like I just lose 50k souls and just go, okay. And I'm like, I'm a bit annoyed, but I'm not like, I know enough in long scale. It's like, doesn't matter. Don't get stressed about it. Like, they'll come back. You'll get more. Yeah. As many as you want.
So in summary, I think the only things that I feel that I'm too old for this shit, it's just like a measure of quality or something. Like I just don't have time for.
I think the bigger problem for me is it's like, it's not like I feel too old for it. I just feel like I've been looking at them for too long. Like I find now the more time I spend professionally looking at games, and like I've been doing it for a long time, working in games for like almost 10 years, the more time I play these games, like it's just so cyclical, and it's so rare that you play things that grab you and excite you. And this is why for me, like Dark Souls 3, like people keep saying, oh, you're going to make a big video about it. It's like, I don't know. Like, I'm playing it, I'm enjoying it, but it's not exciting me much.
You know what
I don't
you should
feel like
do?
I have anything to say about it.
You should go off and start a board game website, and then you should run that for 5 years, and then you should come back and ask your friend if you can be part of their video game channel, and then you'll be rejuvenated.
No, it's not even that. It's just I think it's not like I'm fed up with it, but it's like you do start to feel old when you see people getting really excited about something new, and you just think, but it's just I've done this. Like it's like. But it's fine. It becomes interesting, and this is why with stuff like Fallen London, it's a reminder of being like you need to just look away. You need to look elsewhere because there's like a ton of stuff.
Fallen London is so much fun.
So I think it's more that actually like, what makes me feel old is not just video games or specific video games. It's sometimes just the mainstream industry.
No, you're completely right. If I absolutely do say I am too old for this shit, and it is the same thing that my fiance talked about when she's left games writing to do like broader tech and culture stuff now. But she was saying like I'm leaving because I'm sick of having these conversations.
It's the same conversations over and over again. I can't be bothered. It's the same conversations about games, like our games are, or it's just like it's boring. And it's the thing is, it's just new generation after new generation popping up and having the same conversations and thinking they're the first people to say things over and over again. And it's the same conversations we have about games, and it's also the same design of games. We're getting games like inspired by other stuff, and sometimes that's lovely for the sake of nostalgia. But in terms of actually having exciting, interesting things to say, you just think, well, it's just more of this.
I will always be here. Like for the last month, I've been playing the new Hitman, I've been playing Street Fighter, I've been playing Fallen London, and all of them have been completely awesome. And I will always be here to like find what is new and what is exciting or what is different that I haven't touched before. But my God, some of the things that like, yeah, I think some of the conversations and some of the excitement is just becoming more and more alien to me.
Yes, and that's the thing is, I think that's what it is. Is it's like I'm still loving the medium. But I'm having to constantly look for things to love now in a way where it used to just be that I was just so enamored to be rolling around in a duvet of games, and I was like, everything's great. Whereas now, actually, I find that my taste, I'm just bored of having the same conversations about stuff all the time. So I need to look for new things. And interestingly, like I got some very mixed reactions when I was talking on Twitter the other day, saying that I'm not going to be covering E3 this year at all, because it's not like I don't think it's. I'm not saying it's irrelevant, but I think
it is less relevant than it's ever been.
It's less relevant than it's ever been, but it's also just not relevant to Cool Ghosts or Daft Souls. It's like really now we're at a stage where when we were kids, you'd be like, you want to know about the next big like Mario, Zelda.
Also that was, the big AAA stuff was all the video game industry was when we were kids. Yeah.
So now it's like, why would you take the time out to get hyped about stuff that's not out for a year, 2 years when there's more stuff right now than you can possibly handle?
Yeah.
And so I just feel like to actually even. I felt for a while like that kind of hype cycle of the industry has become increasingly relevant, but now we're just a two-man operation. It's like, no, like we're not gonna. I'm not gonna get like. People like. I'm not even gonna bother wasting my time to watch like 10 hours worth of press conferences about stuff I can't play when I could just be playing awesome things right now.
You know what I might do?
What?
I might get like a bowl of snacks and really make a thing of E3, and like not cover it at all, but like maybe make some chicken wings and watch some of the conferences. Fiance and I have for 2, maybe 3 years running, stayed up until 3 a.m. to watch the Sony press conference, which is awesome and romantic because it is so out of character for both of us.
Yeah.
Neither of us should be into that. Both of us are like, should we just be kids again and watch this and kind of make fun of it, but kind of get super excited when like the FF7 music comes on and one of us starts crying, and I'm not going to reveal who. But it was good, it was...
Yeah, see, I don't know. I just feel like... I think it's not so much a game I played recently, but like I do feel very alien in the industry. It's kind of been a weird couple of years, but I feel like that's the best way to describe it.
You're like any number of creatures in Bloodborne of just sitting there and watching and becoming more and more weird.
I didn't intend that to happen though. It was
no one in Bloodborne did, man. No one in Yharnam thought that they were like going down a dark path.
But it's weird. It just all of these choices just made sense. I thought I just put some blood in my werewolf legs. When are my legs werewolf legs? No, it's it's just interesting because it's like it kind of made sense to be like, well, I'm not doing any of in sponsor stuff, so I don't need to deal with PRs. So, it means I don't need to go to games events if I'm not doing previews. So then, first of all, it means you're not connected to the industry because you're not actually seeing people anymore. You're not going to events, you're not going on trips, you're not doing review things. But then it becomes this weird thing of the longer you're out of it, and the more you're like watching people getting excited about the new Far Cry, when you're just like, why don't I play that? Like, it's bizarre. Now I just feel like genuinely a fringe alien, and it's kind of fun sometimes because it's like, we're doing our own thing, but the other times it's kind of terrifying because you're just like, what even is this culture? I feel like I'm looking through a window.
It's okay, man. We're part of a new wave of scenesters who are doing it for themselves.
I like to
indie
think so.
devs and YouTubers and writers who are all like just making a whole new scene.
Well, I think that's it. I think it's that games is actually wide enough to support more than a monoculture.
They are now.
So,
It happened in the last 15 years. Fucking A.
Well, that's a very long answer of why I feel old, because I'm a werewolf and I've drunk too much weird blood.
And that's why I thought I wasn't old, but I am.
But he is. You're a young'un. You're so young with your nice eyes and your young skin.
A year and a half younger than you?
Yeah, but in that next year and a half, mate, you're going to collapse.
Actually, I tell you what, the age...
You're going to flake away.
The speed at which I'm aging. I walked some of the London Loop this week, which, if people aren't aware, is a loop that goes around London.
You were looking at birds and having a lovely time.
I was looking at birds. I walked through a cemetery.
We mean birds in the international sense there rather than the British sense, just so you know.
Yep. We stopped at a pub. My friend made sandwiches. Sandwiches had beetroot and pork. And it was nice.
I get more excited genuinely about cooking most of the time than I do AAA games. So there you go.
I get more excited about AAA games, but I cook more often.
Yeah.
We'll
that makes
talk
sense.
about this.
We'll talk about it.
Let's wrap this up and talk about it.
Thank you very much for listening to Dark Souls. If you've enjoyed it, then you can do a bunch of things. You can go to coolghost.net and talk to us about it and have a nice time.
The comments on our site, I'm going to make a concerted effort to chat more in the comments because I have such an awesome time talking to everybody when I do that.
I've got to say, people post comments on a bunch of stuff on the podcast and videos. I don't always reply to everything, but I read everything and they're always great.
And hey, listen, a few months ago was the last time we told you guys to really leave a 5-star review, and loads of you did it. We want to thank all of you who did.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Literally 11 new reviews, but you listened to this, didn't do it, did you? You thought to yourself, I should do that.
Oh, somebody else will do it for me.
But you didn't, and we know. And
Let
so,
it side down.
Seriously, please, you personally listen to this, pop your phone out quickly, 5 stars, write a tiny little 1-sentence review. It doesn't take long, and it makes the world of difference to us.
It's pretty cool. It just means that new people discover it. And actually, one of the nicest things is having people going, oh my God, I've only just discovered this podcast. It's great.
There are 8,000 episodes.
I know. It's people are having a fantastic time. So yeah, if you do enjoy it, then share it with somebody else. If you don't have anyone to share it with, write a review. Anyway, thank you very much, as ever, for putting up with us two old men.
Next week is going to be the young cast. I'm just going to talk about why I'm young.
I'm going to drink the blood of very young people until I'm rejuvenated.
Not me, though.
Well, you're pretty young. See you.
Bye.